So I really want to thank everyone for being here, for watching the replay, because you are stepping into this space of consciousness and awareness and really allowing yourself to be present and really change the trajectory of your life. And I don't say that lightly because setting an intention, holding a vision for what you want is so powerful, and we don't even realize how powerful it is. But the moment you have that vision, that idea of what you want for your family, it already exists. The fact that you have the thought proves that it already exists in some dimension and reality. And the more we can entrain and embody that energy, we can hold that vision on the screen of our mind and feel the gratitude, the emotions for it. We will align to it and it will become our reality. So simply just holding that intention is going to send out a frequency and you will entrain to it. A great analogy of this is thinking about how a radio works, right? You can tune your radio to pick up the station that you want. You can tune it to listen to rock music. And then if you decide you want country, you can change it. But all of the other frequencies of the radio station already exist. They're already being played out in parallel um, timelines, if you will. We simply get to choose what we want to experience, right? And oftentimes it is the pain from our traumas, from our wounds that can get passed down from generations that we learn in society and culture that dictates that radio frequency that we're on. Maybe we are on a path of struggle, of pain, of not being seen, of scarcity, whatever that might be. But the moment we become aware of it and we allow for a conscious choice to change our vibration, we can tune into an experience of connection, of love, of intention, of abundance, of freedom, of peace, of joy, of fun. We can choose to experience our reality through this vibration. And it really is as simple as changing the tuner on a radio and experiencing a different station. Because the moment you have that thought or that vision of what you want for your family, for your life, it already exists, right? And now it's just a matter of holding that vision, holding the gratitude and the emotions for it, and shifting the energy, and that will become your reality. And that is what we learn through this work. And it's so powerful. We get to explore the realm of life force energy and how that can help us in motherhood. So, motherhood truly is a journey of expansion. We literally are expanding and creating new life. And when we allow ourselves to fully be present in that reality and really be present to understand the magnitude of that, it can completely transform our experience. And there are many opportunities along the motherhood journey that allow us to have this invitation to really be present, to listen to what our body is speaking to us, what our soul is speaking to us, how we can connect deeper to our bodies, to our children, to our partners in our relationships, to really have a deeper understanding. And the pains, the symptoms, the challenges, the struggles that we face are our opportunities to really create this deeper connection. And that is where the perspective of quantum healing is so powerful. And it really allows us to shift the way we are going to approach this journey. And we can begin exactly where we are. Right? So whether you are pre-conception, wanting to conceive, struggling with fertility, this is a beautiful time to really be present and honoring what is coming up, what is coming up to be seen that is no longer going to serve you moving forward. There is a huge aspect of really becoming aware of emotions, of traumas, of beliefs that we are carrying with us that is literally stored in the tissues of our body that will not support us moving forward. And entering into this work, preconception is so powerful because when it comes time to creating this child from our body, we are no longer going to create from a state of our wounds, our traumas, these beliefs that do not serve us. As with any state of expansion, you can hear it in my voice. I have experienced this as well. Again, really allowing myself to come to this event with a different voice and really come from a heart-based space. So whether we are presented with struggles preconception, maybe it is during pregnancy, maybe there are symptoms and pains that are coming up that are literally causing you to stop and bring your attention into this moment. We can use quantum healing to ease these symptoms that arise in pregnancy and really create a deeper connection with our body that is going to serve us then through birth, being present with our child, with our body, and then postpartum, really developing a connection to intuitively know how we can care for our child because that is our innate ability to connect with and know what our child needs. And as we tune into the energy of this experience, the ability to respond and care for our child and support comes from a deeper knowing. And when you are able to really approach your relationships from this deeper knowing, you are going to experience this connection and this beauty that you probably didn't even know was possible. And once again, that was my experience. And also, postpartum, say you have already had your children, and sometimes it hits us when we are maybe our children are 10 years old or 20 years old, or I've even helped women where their children are grown and they're still going through and carrying these wounds and these emotions that they experienced during pregnancy, during fertility, during postpartum, or even preconception, wounds that they have been holding on to and emotions they have been carrying since childhood that has just woven itself through their experience, and they still continue to feel bound by it. And using this simple modality, we can really just release and be present and let those emotions flow through. So I will give you a bit of a background on me. My name is Thea, and I came to this work very intuitively through my own infertility struggles. So at the time, I was working as an ultrasound tech at a women's health and fertility clinic. So I worked with pregnant women all day long, with women struggling to get pregnant. And I had so many experiences just witnessing their journey before it even came time for me to get pregnant or even think about conception. Uh, and I mean, there are so many aspects I can speak to because the more we really allow ourselves to be present, the more of our story we come to understand. So even the more I do this work, the more I come to have this level of compassion and understanding around my own experience. Um, right from the first, with my first son, we were trying and we were trying and we had a miscarriage and it was very early on and I wouldn't even allow myself to acknowledge that I had this miscarriage, to be honest. My experience of miscarriage was from this perspective of the ultrasound tech, and an ultrasound tech deals with miscarriages very commonly. So I just was like, this is a common experience that women go through, and no need to dwell on it. I can just forget that it happened, and at least we can get pregnant and I can move on with my life, right? Or so I thought. And each month, this weight just felt heavier and heavier and heavier until we came to the 1 year mark. And I knew once I hit that 1 year of having an unsuccessful um, pregnancy that I could have that diagnosis of infertility. And it was just this knowing that I did not want to go there and I couldn't allow myself to have this identity of infertility. So I told my husband, we're done. We're not going to try. We're not going to have kids. God will bring us these children when it is meant to for us. It will all be in this timing, and we are going to focus on ourselves and we are going to have fun. And absolutely, you guessed it, we got pregnant that month. And I go on to have this pregnancy, and oh my goodness, there's so many stories I could tell you, but I'm going to skip over that one because we'll get to really where quantum healing comes in. So our son is now 1 year old, and we want to try for another child, and we get pregnant. right away. Everything is looking good. Of course, I'm an ultrasound tech, so I'm scanning myself every day I go into work. And we told all of our family, we were telling friends, and then every day I went into work, the measurements just didn't quite line up. And I told myself my dates must have been off. Maybe I'm measuring at a wrong angle. Maybe I'm just not seeing clearly. Maybe I'm just measuring emotionally and I'm not being clear and rational with the measurements until it got to the point of around 10, 11 weeks in when I started to notice the heart rate went um, intermittent as well. And then I reached a point where there was no longer a heartbeat, and I had to call my midwife and actually confirm that I wasn't seeing a heartbeat. She mentally and emotionally prepared me that I would likely miscarry within the following few days, and I did. So that was a really unique experience of watching this whole miscarriage unfold and then healing from it once again from a space of, well, it happens, we'll get pregnant again, right? Really not allow myself to fully acknowledge the emotions. And still, even in this process where I'm not even acknowledging my grief, I'm going to work every day and I'm scanning these pregnant women and I'm scanning these infertility patients and trying to continue on. Right until a breaking point comes, and I remember saying to my boss, I can't handle this. I experience these miscarriages. I'm really struggling. I just need you to know that I am doing my best. And um, she was very respectful, very caring, lovely, lovely in all respects. And then, sure enough, the following month, I get pregnant again. And of course, now my mind is just going everywhere. And I thought for sure I was having an ectopic. And I started creating all the symptoms in my body that would align with an ectopic. So I had my boss scan me and she confirmed it was not ectopic. I was just getting in my head and creating these physical sensations in my body. And she encouraged me to go get blood work. So I started doing regular blood work as if I was one of their infertility patients. And then it was my lab tech, the lab tech for our company, who called me one day and she said, I'm really sorry, Thea, but your progesterone is dropping and you're likely going to miscarry this weekend. Once again, devastating, grateful to have the support of the staff, and we go through this next miscarriage. My boss is now aware of what is happening with me, and they know that my progesterone is low, so they offer to start me on a progesterone protocol. So I start taking progesterone and cycle monitoring myself. I do 1 month of progesterone and what I would call just completely mentally insane, emotionally uncontrollable. I was having mood swings like none other. I was sleeping 3 to 4 hours a week. I was really not in a good state of mind while still having to be present, for my child who's almost 2 at this point, and my husband, and still showing up to work, scanning these pregnant women and these fertility patients. And when they offered to do another round and add in more testing, it was just this knowing that there had to be another way. And I politely refused more treatment and diagnostics from my work, even though I knew what the next protocol would be. I knew what there was that they had to offer, but and I couldn't explain it, but there was just this knowing that there had to be another way. And sure enough, I just held true to this knowing, and it was like synchronicity started falling into place. I became aware of an anti-inflammatory protocol where I could change my diet and it would correct my hormones. And I just started it, and I saw this new practitioner, and all of these things, if you will, were just falling into place. And we were able to get pregnant that month. And not only did we get pregnant that month naturally, but I went on to have a very smooth and very beautiful pregnancy. And the symptoms that I experienced in my first pregnancy, I didn't experience in my second. And I started having all of these experiences that I could not explain. It was like knowings and synchronicities and just I was having these moments of awareness that I couldn't comprehend, right? And I couldn't make sense of with the knowledge that I had had from the medical field, from everything I had learned from work, from everything I had learned in church growing up. I couldn't find an understanding for what I was experiencing. And I just knew that there was something more that was going on. And I started to learn about the power of my breath, the power of my words of affirmations, the power of intention. And it eventually led me to saying very clearly, I want to help people heal. I want to help women heal. I want to understand what I experienced so that I can share it with other women. And sure enough, the next week I was introduced to Quantum Touch. And I saw a video of Richard Gordon, the founder of Quantum Touch, and his main message was we can all heal, that healing is our innate ability, and all healing is self-healing, and we all have this ability to tap into this innate healing. Sure enough, I learned a little bit more about quantum touch, and there was a workshop available on that one weekend in August. And I had already reached out to some girlfriends to ask if they wanted to go away for the weekend. And of course, nobody was available, but this workshop had popped up. So I booked it and I went. And right away, it was just this knowing of resonance that there was something here that I needed to learn, along with I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. But right away, the way the practice is taught in the workshop. We learn to work with life force energy and move it through our bodies so that we can feel it. And we learned that within the first 2 hours. And right away, I recognized this feeling. I knew this feeling of, as they say, the energy moving through my body. This was the feeling of when I held my babies for the first time, skin to skin. It's this feeling of overwhelming love. It's this feeling of just knowing, of being present, of just, yeah, overwhelming love. And that is one of the ways we teach how to tap into the energy, is really tapping into that presence and into that love, because the essence of the energy is love. Everything is love. It is the universal healer that can communicate across all species. That is what brings this wholeness and completion, is when we're in this present moment and we can really just experience that love. Richard Gordon has a great quote, and it goes something like, a rock doesn't need to be more rock-like, just like we don't need to be more love-like. We don't need to try and be more loving. We just need to be. And when we can just be present with the essence of who we are tapping into that love. That is our true essence. So a big part of this work is just allowing ourselves to be present and to experience this love within. I went on to learn this modality, and by the end of the 2 days, I came home and my husband's like, "How did it go? Did it work?" And I'm like, "I think it worked. I think I can do this." And it's just a very different mindset, right? Culture and society and science, it's always this linear format, right? This yes or no, this do A, B, and C, and D will work, right? There's like this formula. But when we're stepping into the quantum, when we're stepping into the presence, it's different. It can happen in an instant. We can access this energy. The ability to hold an intention, we can influence the outcome. So holding an intention is tapping into the vibration of that outcome. And it is working at that level of consciousness where we know we can affect matter. And simply by being present and being attentive, we can influence the outcome. And it's a very different perspective, but it makes so much sense because that is our innate ability. And the way Quantum Touch is able to formulate this into a protocol that we are able to learn is so powerful. So I got home from that night, or from that weekend away, and I got a message from my sister-in-law, and she's in the hospital. She is going into labor with her fourth. She is being induced because she hit that 2-week mark, and her transfer of care went from midwife to OB, so she now had to deliver her child at the hospital when she had 3 previous beautiful home births with her midwife. But because she hit that 2-week mark, she had to have her transfer of care to an OB to be induced and in the hospital. So she was just letting me know that she was in the hospital. And previously, she was scared that if she got to this point, she wouldn't know what to expect because that was such a different experience than her previous three labors. So I told her I learned this really cool modality. I was going to send her some energy, and I would just be excited for when she got to share this exciting news of my niece or my nephew being born. So I told my husband I was going to run the energy to my sister-in-law. I went into my bedroom, I shut the door, I sat on the bed, and I started using this technique that I had just learned. And part of me wondered if I was good enough, if I was capable enough. And I just let those go aside and really just tapped into the presence and the love that I wanted to share and letting that energy flow through me. And I held the intention of at some point she was going to call me and she was going to introduce me to my niece or my nephew, and it would just be so exciting, and she would be so excited to share that it went so much better than she could have expected, and really just holding this positive intention for the greatest and highest good. So I'm running the energy, and I did it for about 20 minutes. And I came out, and my husband was like, "So, how did it go?" I'm like, "I think it went well." Once again, we don't always get the immediate feedback. It really is this essence. A couple hours later, she called me to introduce my new nephew. She told me that things went better than expected and they would be home later that evening and we could come visit the next day. And I was like, whoa, that was really cool. At this point, I was still working in ultrasound. I was with the hopes of creating um, a platform in which I can share this with other women, but at the time, I was still working in ultrasound. So I was um, at work this one day, and I call this woman from the waiting room, and I noticed that the requisition said rule out miscarriage and checking for retained products. So basically, we wanted to see if she had anything left after her miscarriage, right? And when we get a requisition like this, we never really know how much the patient knows. So you always proceed with caution, not caution, but like an emotional stability because you never really know how the patient is going to take this information or what state they're going to be in. So I'm calling this patient back. And we get into the room and she looks me down in the eyes and she's like, "You scanned my last miscarriage." And I start to get a little nervous because, once again, with miscarriages, you just never really know the experience that is going to unfold. And as I'm doing her history, I find out that this was her 12th miscarriage. And she's worked with three different fertility clinics, and she hasn't been able to hold a pregnancy past 6 weeks. And as I'm doing her ultrasound, I am running the energy as I had learned in my workshop, really holding this outcome that she would have this beautiful child, really seeing her growing as a glowing pregnant mother, as having this baby, creating these new life memories as a family. And we had so I was running the energy simultaneously while performing the ultrasound, while also having this conversation with her of just being really open about my own experiences with my miscarriages. And we really did have this deep connection through those conversations about miscarriages and grief and emotions in her body. And she had left. The ultrasound was normal. Everything had been cleared from her body. And I just wished her well, and she left. And a couple months later, I see her name on this patient list again, and she was there for an early obstetrical ultrasound. One of my coworkers had scanned her, and it was a beautiful, healthy 7-week-old baby. And of course, she's overjoyed because she hadn't had a 7-week ultrasound with a heartbeat before. And then a couple months later, I see her on the schedule again, and she was 12 weeks along. And at that point, I met her in the hallway and she gave me a big hug. And it was just so great to share this beauty with her. And then I saw her on the patient schedule again at 20 weeks. And then after that is when I had stopped working in ultrasound. So I never did get to find out the rest of her story. But the beauty of what was experienced was already there. So I started to realize how powerful this work is. I have since gone on to share this in a greater capacity with other women, both as one-on-one clients, as students in the workshop and really sharing this with people in my life, right? I also get to stay home with my kids and homeschool and really develop these friendships and really continue to have this conscious awareness and intentional life around my kids. And it's so exciting that all of this has allowed me to live a life with intention and really feel that agency in my life, that I get to make these conscious decisions. And this is the power of holding an intention, of allowing ourselves to heal traumas, inner child work, wounds, beliefs, narratives, routines, habits that no longer serve us. And with the energy, we really do get to address those aspects of our lives and shift it into our intention and really hold a conscious vision of what we want for our life, for our health, for our family. And that really is going to create the shifts in your life. And I can think back to the times when I was struggling with my fertility, when I was working, when I was just feeling anxiety through the roof, feeling depressed, not being able to sleep. Like when I was in those dark days, I realized I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't have a dream. I just wanted to get through the day. And I just wanted the pain to go away. And I just wanted to not feel this pain. And I could see how I continued to manifest the pain by saying, I don't want the pain. And it was really being attached to that. I didn't know how to create an intention and move my life forward in a conscious way. And oftentimes it is the pain that we experience in fertility. In pregnancy, in labor, having difficult births or traumas or complications postpartum, these are really just ways of our body getting our attention to really bring us into the present moment so that we can observe what is coming up to be seen, so we can let go of what no longer serves us and really become conscious and intentional moving forward. Okay. And that is the beauty and the invitation that comes with the pain and the symptom and the struggle. So when we allow ourselves to view it in that way, miracles do happen. Awesome. So I have prepared some slides. I will go through them now, and then hopefully we'll have time for some exercises so you can experience and feel this yourself. Okay, so what is quantum healing? Everything is energy, including our bodies, our emotions, our experience. Everything is stored in our body. Our body is a physical representation of our energy. All right. And it holds patterns, blocks, and also the potential for healing. There is this innate intelligence within our body that already knows how to heal. And quantum touch allows us to tap into this life force energy and change our state. So we learn how to become aware of what we are experiencing, and then we can choose to shift it. And this is the analogy of becoming aware of what is playing on the radio, deciding, does this serve us? Is this the station we want? Or do we want to change and shift that radio frequency? Do we want to change and shift our frequency? And absolutely, that is possible. This is simple to do. It's whether we are going to remember that we have access to this. Okay, and we're working with love. Love is the universal vibration. It communicates to all species, functions on all levels, and expresses our true nature. That is what we are. And when we can be fully present and accept our selves as they are, that is tapping into unconditional love. Can I love myself in this moment? Can I love my partner just as they are? Can I love my child just as they are? Can I love myself just as I am? This is being present and this is tapping in to life force energy, to love. All right, so I just wanted to share, this was an experience that one of my students had. She said, I was sick with fevers, body aches, and a mild bladder infection for 2 days prior to the workshop. Within the first couple hours of the training, I was relieved of the pain and the sense of dizziness and exhaustion I had previously had. Now, I just want to share there that this is a very common experience. Before we have a very transformative experience like a workshop, it is very common to experience pains, symptoms, the body showing us what is no longer in alignment with what we are going to become. And I experienced this with my throat, with the past 2 days of really just being present in my body and experiencing this. And this happens quite a bit before a workshop, is we become aware of what we've been holding on to, and it's this matter of detoxing, if you will, of your body just letting go and getting ready to shift. Okay. Um, so in the workshop, she says, I was quickly full of energy and inspiration, mental clarity, and groundedness. I also received healing for a miscarriage I had experienced 6 months prior. I didn't realize I was still holding any grief, but it surfaced while Thea was sending me healing energy. A deep release, tears, and love for my babies flooded my consciousness, followed by extraordinary peace, calm, and a sense of safety, as well as knowing that everything was in its right place, that the timing of my pregnancy and miscarriage was all perfect and meaningful. I felt a closure I didn't realize I even needed after my experience months before. I am deeply grateful for Thea's healing, loving, nurturing spirit and warmth of her intuition. And this, once again, is also a very common experience, is we don't allow ourselves to fully grieve or acknowledge the miscarriage that we experience. And all of these emotions will stay with us in our body until we are able to feel safe to experience and shift that energy. And this is just a testament to the healing that happens in the workshop. And being able to share this space with other women is also deeply healing. And this mother has gone on to have another child, having a deeply connected pregnancy, and natural present birth. And she is now, I think her child is maybe 6 weeks old, and she's really allowed herself to be present in that postpartum experience, and really just hold this love for her child and for herself and this connection. So why this work matters for motherhood is really this expansive journey that we experience as women. It really is this way for us women to tap into our ability to create, to work with life force energy, to create what we want in our lives, and to create these beautiful, loving families, to create these children that grow up to be incredible people. And our fertility challenges, pregnancy discomforts, birth fears, postpartum struggles, and grief, there's all an energetic component. There are the emotions that are no longer going to serve you moving forward, and they are coming up to be seen, to be released, so that you can enter into motherhood with this intention, so you can experience this expansion as a woman. So instead of just reacting to pain or symptoms, we learn to work with the energy, to bring healing, to listen within, and to expand. So it really is about creating this connection with our body, to observe and see what is coming up to be seen. Oftentimes it is thoughts, feelings, emotions, and memories from the past that no longer serve us are coming up to be seen and released. And then we imagine we can shift that energy into our intention. And I like to use the analogy of Lego. Say you have a Lego creation that is from the past. It no longer serves you, but it's this built creation, right? So this is simply observing those emotions we are holding in our body that no longer serve us. And by observing it, we can take it apart and we can brick by brick just create a pile of pure potential, right? We can take this energy and now it is usable, and we can create what we want from that. With intention, we can create what it is that we do want, and we can use that energy to now build anew for ourselves. And essentially that is what we are doing with this work, is we are becoming aware of that pain, of that challenge that is presenting itself, understanding the energy and emotions behind it, and transforming it into our intention, into what we do want, right? A natural, healthy pregnancy, a healthy child, natural birth, a connected present birth, a deep connection with our body, with our child, creating these family memories for generations to come, really holding that vision of what it is we do want. Here is another uh, testimonial from a woman in my workshop. She had a deep realization of how much grief and shame I was holding on to since my miscarriage and other traumatic life experiences that had brought my life to a standstill. Thea skillfully crafted a safe and nurturing environment that encouraged me to feel safe in my vulnerability and allowed me to create enough space to gently release the origins of childhood-based shame and fear. Laughter and tears contributed to a deep cathartic sense of healing I've never allowed myself to experience. This was truly an empowering, life-altering experience for which I am truly grateful. Thank you, Thea. Oftentimes, these patterns will continue to present themselves in our life until we are able to observe, feel safe, heal through that, and move forward. And the workshop is such a beautiful space to really be present. It is very common to have a cathartic experience. Laughing, crying, shaking, any sort of movement of the body is the energy physically moving through our body. And we can experience this and we know this, right? We just know how good and light you feel after a good laugh, right? A belly laugh that really has you contract all your muscles. Same thing with a cry. The peace and clarity that comes after a good cry is so powerful. And we're able to access these states within the energy and the workshop. So, a quick history of quantum touch and how it came about. Richard Gordon is the founder of Quantum Touch, and he's very open about how he came to learn this from Bob Rasmussen, who has this intuitive natural healing ability. And Richard was uh, attending one of Bob's events and witnessed his friend's spine go into alignment. Richard Gordon's friend had a scoliosis, and within the healing session of Bob demonstrating this on the stage, he watched his friend's spine straighten, being completely amazed by what Bob was able to do. Richard then became his neighbor and his apprentice and learned under Bob and really noticed when Bob was taking a breath, what Bob was thinking about, where Bob was placing his hands, what Bob's intentions were, and really putting it all together into a simple format. And that is a technique called quantum touch. So it is based on intuitive healing, and a lot of us have intuitively already experienced this. And it's not uncommon during the workshop for people to then say, oh, actually, I remember this time. And they have these moments. And we all have these moments in our lives that we couldn't explain, but until we have a way of explaining it, there's a part of us that doesn't allow ourselves to believe the truth in it and really remember it. So it is a very common experience when people in the workshops or even when clients will say, oh, now I recall a time. And when we tap into this work, we tap into a remembering, which is very powerful. So I'm going to quickly go over some quantum touch principles so you have a bit of an understanding. We're working with energy. Everything is energy, and energy is always emotion. And we use breath, attention, and intention to amplify the energy. It is through our breath that we bring in life force energy, right? If we're not breathing, we're not living. And simply becoming aware of our breath, we come to realize how shallow our breathing truly is, or we'll take pauses when we're scared and we'll hold our breath. But those are all ways of holding the energy. So we learn how to breathe in a way that is going to enhance the energy. Okay. And then attention is where we place our attention is where we place our energy. So we learn how to place our attention in our body to feel the energy move through while also holding our attention on the client to notice those thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories that come up that are coming up to be seen, right? It's not that things are getting worse. It's that things are coming up to be seen for us to then decide, are we going to hold on to this or is it time to let it go? So it's coming up to be seen so it can be released. And we're holding our attention in that. and then holding our intention. So this is where we want to send the energy. So we become aware of the emotions and the trauma and the pain that we're holding on to, and then we choose to transform it with our intentions. We really want to have an intention that is rooted in the positive, rooted for our greatest and highest good. And a really simple example is if you are trying to get pregnant and you keep holding this intention of trying to get pregnant, you're going to continue to create a state in which you're trying to get pregnant, right? So we no longer want to try to get pregnant. We want to imagine the glow and what it feels like to feel the baby kick within. We want to imagine what it feels like to share the news of our newborn child with our friends and family. We want to imagine and feel what it's like to celebrate that first Christmas or that first family tradition with them, really. So we want to hold that intention in that future positive moment to bring the energy. Okay, healing happens on all levels. So this is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. So it's quite often to have a pain subside, mental clarity, so release of anxiety or depressive experiences. You might feel emotions like anger or shame or fear. You notice those emotions flow through you, as well as being able to feel joy and peace and love and gratitude and be able to experience those emotions, as well as spiritual. So it's quite often that uh, women will have insights, spiritual insights, answers to questions, just simple knowings, a strengthened intuitive ability, experiencing coincidences and synchronicities. You start to experience life in a way you hadn't before, which is really powerful. And we kind of talked about it before, but pain is our body's way of getting our attention. So pain is that messenger from our body to get our attention, because where attention goes, energy flows. And when we can bring our attention back into our body, we are bringing the energy there. It is so common in life to feel distracted. There is so many things that are trying to get our attention, but when we can be present and listen to that pain, the pain is our body's way of bringing all of our energy back into this moment. So learning to listen to our body and hear those whispers before it needs to scream is a very powerful skill that we start to develop. And really learning and observing where our attention is going. So let's do an energy awareness practice here so that you can start to tune into the energy. I realize we are going to go a bit over time. So if you are live, I hope that is okay with you. And you can always catch the replay and always tune back in, especially to tune into these practices if you want to continue to experience the practices. All right, so we're going to start with developing awareness of energy. And as we start to do this, we start to realize that we've already been experiencing this. This really is our innate ability. So we're going to start by just holding out our finger. So I want you to hold your finger out in front of you and simply focus all of your attention on your finger. Okay, so I want you to look at your finger. I want you to feel your finger. Notice how the skin wraps around your finger. Notice how the nail looks on your finger. Feeling the blood pulse through your finger. Placing your full attention on your finger. You might have noticed that you started to feel tingling. Maybe you're aware of the temperature of your finger or the air around, that you're becoming more aware of your finger. Now, I want you to imagine that you can intend to increase the sensations in your finger. Increase the feeling of tingling, of warmth, of expansion. Imagine you can turn a dial and you can feel more sensation in your finger. And now I want you to imagine that you can breathe into your finger. So on your inhale, you're going to fill your finger with energy. And on your exhale, sending it out the tip of your finger. So with each breath, your finger fills with energy. And on your exhale, it sends out. Beautiful. So this is simply moving energy through your finger, feeling this awareness. When we learn quantum touch, we learn to bring this level of awareness to our entire body. So our entire body becomes a catalyst for moving life force energy. And this happens very easily within the first couple hours of the workshop. We are able to really expand on this practice and feel the energy move through. And like I said before, that when I learned that for the first time, it was like that feeling of holding my child skin to skin for the first time. Just this overwhelming feeling of love. And actually, the more I teach this workshop, it's really interesting to hear what students say. I had a nurse tell me that when she experiences that energy, she's like, I know this feeling because this is what I would call anxiety. And the more I thought about that, there's so much truth because I mean, I have a lot of theories, but I wonder if anxiety is simply energy without intention. We feel this energy in our body, but we don't have a clear intention of where to send it. So this energy just reverberates in our body and it just feels like this intensity. But what if we could tap into that intensity and direct it with our intention and actually use that energy? Something to think about. Awesome. So let's bring this to our entire bodies. I am going to lead us in a 10-minute guided energy practice where I use quantum touch to run energy to each of our 7 chakras for the motherhood journey to support us in motherhood. So let's take a moment now to get comfortable and prepare for this 10-minute experience, drinking some water, finding a comfortable position, or laying down if that is available for you. I am going to play my music for you. Awesome. So finding yourself in a comfortable position, I invite you to tune into your breath, tuning into your body, feeling your body expand on your inhale and soften on your exhale. We'll begin with running energy to the root chakra at the base of your spine, bringing your full attention to the base of your spine now for safety and fertility. Noticing any thoughts, feelings, emotions, or memories that arise, knowing that it is coming up to be seen, to be released, holding an intention for your greatest and highest good, a vision for yourself and your growing family. Now sending energy to your sacral chakra, the region of your pelvis, sending this loving energy to your womb for creativity, inner knowing, and intuition. Noticing the thoughts, feelings, emotions, and memories that arise. Holding the intention for your greatest and highest good. Now sending energy to your solar plexus, the level of your belly button, for strength, confidence, navigating emotions. Noticing what is coming up to be seen, observing and shifting your focus to your intention. Now sending energy to your heart chakra, the level of your chest, for unconditional love for yourself and for baby. Noticing what is coming up, holding the intention for your greatest and highest good. Now sending energy to your throat chakra, the level of your throat, allowing you to speak your truth and advocate for yourself, feeling agency over your life. Noticing what is coming up to be seen, holding your intention for your greatest and highest good. Now sending energy to your third eye, in the middle of your head, just above your brow line. Our third eye is associated with intuition and inner wisdom, feeling connected to these visions and intentions we hold for our lives. Noticing what is coming up to be seen, holding your intention and your vision. Now sending energy, the crown chakra at the crown of your head, our connection to source, surrendering what no longer serves us, noticing what is coming up to be seen, be released, holding the vision and intention you hold in your heart. Once again, tuning into your breath, feeling your body expand on your inhale and soften on your exhale. Giving yourself the gift of this time, this moment, to be fully present in your body, noticing what is coming up. Get your attention, get your energy. Feeling safe in your body and feeling this unconditional love now. Holding the intention and vision you have for your family, for your experience as a mother, as a woman. Knowing by simply holding an intention, you are aligning your vibration, your frequency with that outcome, that possibility, that reality. You are drawing it to you. Holding this vision and intention. Knowing the energy will be with us for as long as it's for our greatest and highest good. Already done. Beautiful. Bring this practice to a close, welcoming some movement into our bodies. Taking a moment now to come into the space, drinking some water, jotting down anything you might have experienced, any thoughts, feelings, memories, emotions that arise, where in your body you experience sensation, noticing what came up for you. Notice any messages or insights any visions or intentions that came to you. This is all part of the experience. And you may notice it now, and you can notice it later this evening or tomorrow or next week. But know that the energy has already shifted. And I have every reason to believe that this is creating the shifts in your life, the greatest and highest good, for holding that intention. Even if that is the very least, it's being present in your body and holding an intention, a dream, a vision of what you have for the future. That is a sacred expression that has come to you for you to experience. And you can continue to hold that intention for a beautiful, growing body and glowing pregnancy, to be present and connected during birth, to grow and expand with your child postpartum, to experience life on a level you didn't even know was possible, to experience this love in a way that you didn't even know was possible, and to experience this growing intuition and connection and awareness, living a life with intention, purpose, and passion is all possible for us. Know that you can always replay this part to re-experience this energy practice, re-experience this in your body, in the moments of triggers or flares, if you will, or pain, into the breath and receive energy in that moment. Beautiful. So there is just a couple other things I wanted to share with you. Awesome. So what to expect in a quantum touch session. It can be hands-on, but to be honest, I do all of my work remotely, distantly, through the energy, through quantum, which is so powerful. And it really allows us to tap into what is possible. To even, once we comprehend that we can send energy distantly, it unlocks this part of us that has to ask, well, what else is possible? So even during that energy session, sending energy to your chakras, the fact that I don't even know where you are right now as you are listening to this, but my energy knows and can connect through consciousness. And how beautiful that is, that every time you listen, you can re-experience this energy. You may feel a warmth, a tingling, a relaxation, changes in emotions. We kind of talked about energy can happen on all levels: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Those are all ways that you can experience it. Sometimes clients will feel the shifts in the moment. They might feel pain flare up. That actually can happen because the body is just getting fully ready to release what it is holding on to. So sometimes they will notice those physical shifts, and the pain might intensify and then it will diminish. So we can have reduction in that feeling of pain. When we work in the workshops, we can see hips shifting into alignment, skeletal structures coming into alignment, a feeling of awareness and presence in the womb, in the body, in relaxation and expansion in the chest, to a release of headaches or migraines or sinus pressures. These are all experiences that clients have. A feeling of alertness, of clarity, a release of emotions. It's common to have memory recall. So they might suddenly remember a moment from their childhood that they previously did not remember, right? So you kind of have these rememberings of that energy that was stored in the body is coming up to be seen, right? And then these memories come to life, and then we can release them and let them go. So we're no longer holding on to these emotions and these memories at a cellular level, to these emotions. We can let them move through. Sometimes clients will experience this in the moment. Sometimes it'll be later that night or that day or the next day or the next week. It really is in divine timing in what is for the client's greatest and highest good. And sometimes they need to experience something to fully understand it, and sometimes that will take what we call physical time. So everyone will have an experience that is unique to their own, but that's kind of an experience of what women have had. How you can use quantum touch. So for self-healing, so you can learn this modality to help yourself through this, because all healing is self-healing. We're tapping into this innate intelligence within that already knows how to heal. We are simply providing that energy through resonance so you can entrain and experience that energy. And we know this because if you walk into a room and two people are talking and laughing and it feels really good, you just want to linger in that presence, right? That energy feels good and you can entrain and you can feel excited too. Like laughing is contagious. Once one person starts laughing, everyone will eventually start laughing because that energy is contagious. And that is how we share quantum touch. So you really can create these states, and then your body will entrain to this energy and use this energy for its innate healing. So you can help this to come into alignment for fertility, pregnancy, to be present in birth, really just holding our breath to be present in birth. I got to use I had taken a couple quantum touch workshops by the time I went into labor with my third, and it was a beautiful, incredible experience. I was able to be present and just be with me and my body and my baby and really have a connected experience. There was about 15 minutes of intense pain where I felt that surrender. And in that moment, it was as if the energy of mothers who had birthed before me and mothers who will birth after me were holding me, and I felt so safe. And my daughter was born. And it was such a beautiful experience. And I love to share that with clients that they can have that experience of connection and beauty in birth as well. And really not to fear it. Oh my goodness, so much of this work is really addressing our fear, because our fear is that energy we don't want to acknowledge. It's that energy we don't want. It no longer serves us. We don't want to acknowledge it. That's why we're scared of it, right? We're trying to ignore it, but that energy is still present. And until we acknowledge those fears and shift that energy, we're going to hold on to it. And there's so much work that can be done with really just being excited for birth and really allowing ourselves to be present with birth and releasing those fears. And once again, that serves us in postpartum with connecting to our child, for nursing, for regulating sleep and feeling safe to sleep. And when we can manage our energy and really be in tune, we fall into a natural sleep cycle, and so will our child. And that is a very natural experience. And that is what we can experience postpartum with this work, as well as navigating all those emotions, right? It's all of this energy. We just don't know what to do. And a lot of times we just don't know how to hold that intention. So a big part of this work is learning how to create intentions that are going to serve us and understanding the power of those intentions. We can use this for our loved ones, right? We can use it to support our partners, our babies, our families. I use this work on my children every day, right? You can just think of when a child falls and scrapes themselves or gets a cut, right? They come crying to mom. They just want that mother's embrace, right? That is the energy healing. That is being present with your child with this unconditional love for them. That is this energy. So we can use this for our children, for when our children are sick, to help support our partners as we go through this expansion journey. And if you are a practitioner who works with women as a doula, a midwife, a therapist, a coach, any sort of practitioner that helps women, you can integrate this into your current work. So I have taught this to nurses, to doulas, I even taught this to an anesthesiologist, and she would use this work when she had C-section patients, and she would help them hold that vision of being home, snuggling their baby, optimal recovery, feeling that joy and that gratitude and that love of snuggling their baby at home. And she told me that the mothers that were able to hold that vision of intention of being home with a quick recovery, she was actually able to administer less anesthetics to manage their pain. And she said the women that struggled to hold that intention and held more of this panic energy, she said that she would give them the max dose of anesthetics and it still couldn't control their pain. So it really is this ability to be present and to listen to what that pain is telling us, right? And to really hold that intention. That is such a powerful part of this work. So if you didn't get anything else out of this talk, I just hope you know the importance of holding a beautiful intention, and simply having the thought of that intention means it's already done. So really to have, that full confidence and release that doubt or shame that you feel like it's not possible, because everything starts as a thought. Everything is energy and everything starts as a thought. So we want to hold those thoughts of our intention of what we want to experience. Awesome. So here are just a couple other messages from women who have taken the workshops, who have been clients. And it really is a lot of a connection to their body that came with breathing and sweeping. So breathing and sweeping is a technique we use in quantum touch. It becomes a part of their daily life. This becomes a new way of living, of being, of holding a presence in our lives. And it's interesting how this one woman writes how shockingly similar our issues are when we're working on each other. And once again, this is the energy and this is that resonance. And if we are actually honest about what we are experiencing and thinking and actually sharing that with each other, we will come to realize that we're going through a lot of the same things. And a lot of it is just releasing that shame that we feel like we're the only ones dealing with this, when actually there are many of us. And when we can really come together and become aware of it, that is that connection. This woman writes, I had a physical and emotional shifts, breathing and sweeping. The energy was very cathartic. I also felt that I was trusting my intuition and the visions coming up for me more than ever. The peace that comes from knowing I can remove a boundary because I now have the tools to face a particular situation in my life. Theo Willette has truly changed my life. And that is exactly it. We are no longer a victim to our circumstance, that our circumstance is being presented to us to bring our awareness to this moment, to shift our awareness to our intention, and to really hold that intention of what we do want. And if we can simply acknowledge where we feel like a victim and where we are feeling this pain and this shame, and then decide to hold an intention, that is the shifting of the energy. So my special invitation to all of you is the supported mama offer. So this is where I package everything I have to offer together to really support you through your journey. So we can use we do 5 sessions, one-on-one sessions. So you will get to work one-on-one with me, and we'll actually go through what it is you are experiencing, hold that intention, really allow you to hold that positive intention and vision for your life. We can do this over 5 weeks, or if you want to space it out to allow for time for integration, absolutely, that is something we can discuss for what feels right for you, because a big part of this is learning what feels right in our body and trusting our own intuition. So absolutely, we will work together on what is for your greatest and highest good. You will have access to the Breathing Beauties meditation practice, and this is a 28-day practice that takes you through 7 key elements to create a daily meditation practice. So I like to think of meditation is becoming aware of what the concern is, and then energy healing. Energy work is the healing. So you will also get 2 passes to the Quantum Touch Level 1 workshop. So you can take this twice yourself, or you can share one with a partner and you can take the workshop together, or you can both take the workshop to understand how to use this work in your life. The really beautiful thing about taking the workshop twice, and I have a lot of students who will repeat the workshop, is you really get a deeper understanding. It's like reading a book for a second time. You are now a completely different person the next time you experience it, and you are going to pick it up in a way you never could have imagined or you never understood was available or possible for you. So you really do get to experience this expansion. First time someone takes a level 1 workshop, there is this feeling of uncertainty, of doubt, of, I don't know if it's going to work for me. Um, and that can hold them back. We do go through that quite quickly, and students get over that, if you will. But the second time you take the workshop, you already have an understanding of what to expect, and you can really allow yourself to go deeper into each practice, and you will have a greater experience. And then you also have access to the Energy Healing for Women video series. This is a 2-hour video series, which is recorded so you can watch it at your own time. You can start learning it right away to really understand how to use these practices in your day to day. And why do it now? It's because you know that this is your innate ability and you're ready to expand, that you know that this is the timing to live life with intention, with passion, with purpose, with presence, with being present and experiencing that unconditional love in your life. Because this is very simple and you can experience these transformations quite rapidly when you allow yourself to be present and experience it. So this is the Supported Mama offer. I will send you a link in the email to sign up for it. Right now, all of this together is valued at over $1,700, and I offer it at $897 Canadian. So this is a beautiful package and savings, and really a beautiful way to go in depth. If you are wanting to do more with Quantum Touch and become a practitioner yourself, the 2 level 1 workshops will work towards that, as well as they also count as continuing education credits. The workshop itself is a 14-hour workshop, and you can meet incredible people who are also doing this work. And once again, there is often a resonance, and you experience this connection amongst the other participants in the workshop. Awesome. So just one last note to leave on here is the biggest insight I gained, though, was how powerful and effective the energy work was, given how the techniques were simple to perform. They really are simple and innate. And this is something then you can use these techniques when you are driving, when you are eating, when you are falling to sleep at night. You really can integrate these practices into your day-to-day to live a more intentional life. And you're going to experience rather quickly how beautiful these shifts can happen with synchronicities, with suddenly it will feel as if you've outgrown your habits or your routines, or you're seeking a new experience, and it will just happen in such a beautiful way. Another big insight was a reminder of how powerful the vibration of love is. I tend to overcomplicate things when I'm problem solving, and a better approach is simply send love to the situation. Absolutely. Really just holding that intention of what you do want, and you'd be surprised how the energy will shift. The impact of Thea's teaching has been profound on every level. There is just so much beauty to this work, and I am so excited to share it with you. If you have any questions or comments, you can put it into the chat and we can discuss it. Maybe you experienced something during the energy share to the chakras, or maybe an insight came up. You can always put it in the chat. I really want to thank you all for showing up this evening and for tuning in to the replay. This has been an incredible event.